You know, the more things change, the more they stay the same. It seems like just yesterday, many of us were diving into Overwatch to try out the latest hero shooter from Blizzard. And now, 9 years later, a game that looks eerily similar is taking the world by storm. When I first saw Marvel Rivals, I sensed it had the potential to be a big hit. Who doesn't want to zip around as Spider-Man or Iron Man or bash your way through opponents with the Incredible Hulk? But after over a month, the game has far exceeded even my own expectations. Every day they seem to break their own records and just set a new one on Steam a couple of days ago. And with their ability to add exciting new characters whenever they want, that record could be broken again in the future. This has led to many questions. What does this mean for the live service gold rush? There's a lot of companies trying to get a slice of that pie. And how does something like this happen in the wake of other games not doing very well? And what does this mean for the future of other live service games hoping to launch? Are existing games like Call of Duty and Overwatch effectively on notice? Well, before we get into that, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And if you like this kind of content, check out the live show that followed this video. So we've all been there. Something unexpected takes place, and we're left asking, how did this happen? Your favorite sports team felt like a shoo-in for the championship, and they don't make it. A huge and anticipated movie ends up flopping, or a video game that you were enjoying, or maybe even one that you were looking forward to, just slowly fails to deliver. And in the wake of Concord flopping at a colossal level, some gamers are asking, well, how did Marvel Rivals pull this off? Or to put it another way, some are asking, why are people flocking to Marvel Rivals after rejecting Concord? It certainly is an interesting case study, one that goes beyond simple observations about what the characters look like, but I do think we need to start there. It's undeniable that the characters in Marvel Rivals look fantastic. They're strong, flashy, and yes, there is a lot of emphasis on their musculature and their attractiveness that is common in comic book designs and art style. And it's really hard to defend the heroes in Concord. Some of their designs weren't just questionable from an attractiveness perspective. Some of them just didn't make much sense aesthetically. They had awkward posture, maybe bizarre or strange clothing, and unappealing body shapes. Look, I'm not the most fit guy in the world, but if you make a hero and you want people to enjoy playing as that hero, they have to kind of look like a hero, not Paul Blart. No offense to Kevin James. But the real thing that Marvel Rivals has that Concord didn't, and this is a huge advantage in any entertainment market right now, and this is probably the single most valuable asset to any movie, TV show, or game company, is that Marvel Rivals has recognizable IP. This is the entertainment product cheat code right now, one that some companies are using a little too often, and they're getting a bit of a nerf and a debuff. But in the realm of video games and wanting to play as a hero, this advantage for Marvel Rivals cannot be overstated. Look at the banners and the marketing imagery. You see Venom and Spider-Man, Iron Man, Wolverine. It's immediately attention-grabbing, and it creates intrigue. Well, why? Well, who doesn't want to play as a comic book hero? Many of us grew up pretending to fly on our swing set by laying down on the swing instead of sitting on it. Or we had copious amounts of action figures and toys that allowed us to imagine ourselves as the hero or even the villains, because let's be honest, sometimes the villains are even cooler than the heroes. Well, Marvel Rivals gets to tap into that. And it is cross-generational. I know for a fact that if I let my son see just 30 seconds of Rocket Raccoon blasting away with his gun, he's going to beg me to play this game. But I think there is something at a game development level that Marvel Rivals has also pulled off. And maybe the cheat code of using recognizable IP helped them pull this off better than others. It's because the game is familiar in all the right places. Much of this game is immediately familiar thanks to 9 years of Overwatch being in the market, and before that Team Fortress. You have game modes that don't really need to be explained, which means strategy and gameplay tactics aren't out of reach or difficult to deduce. You have Vanguard, Duelist, and Strategist characters, which is just a fancy way of saying tanks, DPS, and support characters. Or to put it another way, characters that are focused on tanking damage, doing damage, or reversing damage. This makes it easy for players to just pick a type that suits their playstyle or their preferences, and they just have fun. Maybe they take it serious, maybe they want to master a character or a role, or maybe they just want to be Hulk, right? But if Hulk's not doing it for you, well, you can switch to Groot instead. Or if Iron Man's verticality is not quite as fun as you thought it would be, well, try out the Punisher. The point is, being familiar or similar to Overwatch doesn't hurt Marvel Rivals. It clearly hasn't. It has clearly helped it. Streamers and players alike quickly started debating strategy, which characters should do what, when to use your ultimate, and when to wait. This sort of thing can't happen without natural grooves in place of baked-in familiarity. But while some of this, I think, is a clear threat to Overwatch, and would even argue this is teaching Overwatch a bit of a lesson, this is not the only game that Marvel Rivals is teaching a lesson. In the midst of watching Marvel Rivals top player charts and dominate the headlines with its popularity, another king seems to be slipping from its throne once again. Based off player response, streamer response, and even gaming media coverage, it's that time once again to claim that Call of Duty is in crisis. And when I was looking at the player trends, I noticed something that many people are missing. In the midst of all the bluster about no effective anti-cheat and not listening to the fans and seeing big streamers and Call of Duty pros abandon the game and play Marvel Rivals instead, an interesting detail I think is getting missed. Call of Duty is still in the top spots on PS5 and Xbox with respect to player engagement, but it has fallen off of a sharp cliff to the lowest engagement we've probably ever seen on PC. And the difficulty in analyzing Call of Duty engagement numbers comes because they group everything together. So all of the Warzone players and everybody playing Black Ops 6 and any other Call of Duty, well, they're all accessing it through COD HQ. The fact remains, though, if you look at the Steam charts, the game hit an all-time peak of over 300,000 players back in November and just recently fell to an all-time low of player peaks in the 60,000s. Now, when you look and you consult Circana reports, it doesn't look that dire. Well, why is that? Well, because the consoles are still chugging along with Call of Duty in first and second place. Meanwhile, it has slipped all the way to 9th place on Steam, and you'll notice that Marvel Rivals is in the number 1 spot on Steam above giants like Counter-Strike 2 and Path of Exile 2. So, what happened? Well, the first and easiest guess to make is there's way more cheating on PC versus console. The cheating in Call of Duty seems to be at an all-time high, according to literally anyone writing or making videos about the subject. It's so bad that career players are quitting. They're streaming other games. They're saying that the state of the game has never been this bad. But another factor on PC is likely the brand new Omni movement system, creating a ridiculously high skill gap and driving players away that aren't quite there. I got this feeling the last couple times I played Fortnite with people that could build skyscrapers in seconds. It honestly wouldn't surprise me if Omni movement is compounding the cheating problem and maybe even making it harder for the cheats to be detected. Or it could even spread what I call the every player is sus disease. It's hard to think that a crazy move or a really impressive kill is legit when you feel like cheating is running rampant. It makes every impressive kill an eyebrow raise of skepticism rather than evoking comments like nice shot and good game. The mantra of the modern Call of Duty player on PC is, well, they're probably cheating. And when big names like Nadeshot are calling out the anti-cheat and showing that pages and pages of the leaderboards are riddled with blatant cheaters, that will cause a ripple effect in the community. And this is when the Marvel Rivals situation is beating Call of Duty on 2 fronts. On the cheating front, the company behind Rivals is taking a pretty firm approach. NetEase declared that just using a mouse and keyboard on console will be considered cheating. They claim to have a strong detection tool along with human assistance to catch players doing this. Now, I can't speak to the effectiveness of the anti-cheat in Marvel Rivals, but their firm stance seems to be working. I couldn't find videos, tweets, or articles trending about how, cheating is really bad in Marvel Rivals, but that is everywhere with respect to Call of Duty. And the other way that Rivals is likely pulling large amounts of players over to their game on PC, they're protecting bad players more effectively. PC Gamer published an article titled "Evidence Mounts That Marvel Rivals Stealthily Places Losing Players in Bot Matches," and I know because I'm the loser. And the author looked into claims that were made on Reddit, and they made a shocking discovery. They said this: It was exactly as they described. 2 bots on my team and 6 on the other. I'd lost 3 games in a row against confirmed real players and then suddenly got nothing but bots. Their playstyles reminded me of the fill-in bots that you get in Counter-Strike, impossibly aware, but really bad at finishing a kill. Now you might say, so what? I mean, other games do this, right? They put bots in the lobbies to move things along. Sure they do, but this is a little bit different. When Rivals is hitting over 500,000 concurrent players on Steam, there's a good bet that most of those players are not god-tier players ready to go pro. They probably are, average, maybe even below average. It's just not mathematically probable that when 500,000 people are playing a game, they're all really, really good, right? Now, what games like Call of Duty and others have typically done to protect these lower skilled players is they yank more reasonably proficient players like myself out of lobbies and they put us into lobbies and we face people that are really good. Now the Rivals approach seems to be a tad different. They're basically grabbing any player having a hard time and putting them in a game where they will see improved results almost immediately. Now you contrast this to the experience of Call of Duty on PC, especially in Black Ops 6. You got the Omni movement system creating this huge skill gap. You're getting killed by people who are moving like magicians. And then you got bots that you run into that are aim bots and not low skill bots. Then you see Marvel Rivals taking a stern stance against cheating. And after a few play sessions, you probably feel like the game is being a little bit more gentle with you. And with the current upward swing and the popularity of Rivals, many are asking, what does this mean for the future of games in the live service category? If you're familiar with my content, you know that I have said this a lot recently, that PvP live service games are a fool's errand, especially PvP shooter live service games. One of the reasons I said Concord would struggle was the presence of the Marvel Rivals demo hitting the market in a similar time frame. It was free, it's got popular and recognizable IP, and honestly, I thought the game and the early gameplay just looked tighter and better and more fun. So, what does this mean for other live service endeavors? Well, first, it communicates rather loudly just how much you need to rise over the crest and achieve those high heights of a live service game. Marvel Rivals has a mountain of things in its corner. A huge marketing budget from Disney and Marvel, long-standing and recognizable IP, highly attractive characters, familiar and satisfying gameplay, and it's free. Do other live service games coming to the market have these advantages? The two I commonly talk about that are destined for either difficulty or failure are PlayStation's Fair Games and Bungie's Marathon. These games are going to cost money at launch. They offer gameplay loops that the Marathon devs admitted is not for everyone. And what about everybody else? It has to be somewhat daunting if you're working on a PvP shooter right now that you want to have success in the live service market with, to see one more Leviathan game rise up out of the ocean. Like seeing Godzilla, King Kong, and another handful of monsters duking it out for player attention. Do you really want to step onto that battlefield and hope to garner enough engagement and support to survive? I think this is going to lead to a handful of things. Sadly, this could lead to more trend chases. Other live service type games are going to hit the market from rights holders like Amazon or Warner Brothers, and they're going to try and grab that trend of, well, we have recognizable IP, let's do a game like that as well. We all know how that turned out for Kill the Justice League. More than just an increase in trend chase, though, it could lead to more games getting canceled or just pulling a Concord. Companies are either going to cut their losses and just kill a project that they feel is not going to make it, or they may roll the dice and just fall flat on their face. Now, I'm not saying that Marvel Rivals is the new king that will never be toppled and everybody else is just going to die. I'm saying this is the level of popularity you need to hope for at launch, to last, and to make it. Every game, every single time a big popular game like this comes out, it's just gobbling up more of the player pool, and that makes it harder for you to get the attention of any would-be players. Because the truth is, Marvel Rivals is just getting started. One of the biggest dilemmas for ongoing games that they face is, how do you keep things fresh so that people keep playing, or you want them to come back on a regular basis. Helldivers 2 was going to do one new war bond a month, which I said was too much of a good thing, and they have since adjusted the rhythm because I think they seem to agree. Well, according to the Marvel Rivals team, they want to release a new hero every 45 days, basically a new hero every 6 weeks. Now, this means that in a given year, you're going to see 8 new heroes added to the roster. There are currently over 30 heroes in the game. So at that pace, in 3 years' time, the game would have over 50 people to choose from. Now, this could lead to an obvious problem of having just too many characters to learn, keep track of, master. How do you counter this new person or that old person? And you can't just start removing characters to make space because they become beloved staples and go-to choices of many players. For now, I will say that this plan should work. Just the response to the Fantastic Four has been overwhelming, and Marvel has a catalog of heroes to pull from that is practically eternal. But that isn't the only plan that could cement this game as a household name for a long time. They seem to have plans for esports. Insider Gaming reported the following. During an interview with Metro, Marvel Rivals game director was asked about NetEase Esports aspirations for the game. Chen responded that Marvel Rivals Esports is something they have been thinking about on a broader scale, looking at the picture as a whole. Their approach aims to cater to both competitive and casual players. And you can see here they don't want this to become a wedge in this game. The report went on to say this. Chen added that the team hopes their competitive modes or tournaments can coexist with their quick play mode. The developers have observed several games managing healthy competitive and quick play environments simultaneously. They will use references from these titles to help, quote, both player pools thrive. Now, they seem cognizant to the fact that creating a competitive environment can drive off the casual players. And with numbers like this game is pulling, they are likely appealing to a ton of the more casual-minded gamers out there. Regardless of what you think of this game, one thing is clear. Marvel Rivals has put some pretty big games on notice. And if they aren't careful, Marvel Rivals will soon become Unrivaled. And they need to be careful as well. If games like Call of Duty and Overwatch can fall from grace, so can all of your heroes, no matter how many of them can fly. But those are just my thoughts, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can leave a comment below, and sometimes those comments get featured in the live stream that follows this video. That hits a card here, and I always pin a comment below with a link to that show. And as always, if you like this video, please remember to hit like, share, and subscribe.